Can we start? It's 7. Sharnaz?
Madhu, shall we wait for some time, about
Okay.
5 minutes more till more people come in? Madhu?
Yeah, Sharnaz, it's okay. We'll
Yeah,
wait
shall
for
we
5
just
minutes.
wait for 5 minutes more? Maybe more people will be joining in.
Sure.
Yeah.
Shall we start now?
Yeah, Madhu, okay.
It's 7:07.
Yeah.
So good evening and a very warm welcome on behalf of MRC. We have come up with a very unique program this time. It's on cancer and how one of our youngest and one of the most enthusiastic volunteers of MRC has fought with this dreadful disease. Shormistha Mukherjee is the person that we are talking about, and let me introduce Shormistha. Shormistha is the co-founder of Flying Cursor, a digital agency. Apart from advertising, she's also mad about history and travel. In 2018, she was detected and treated for breast cancer. And after that, she went through mastectomy, reconstruction, chemotherapy, radiation, and is very grateful to have survived the disease to tell her story. She has written a book published by HarperCollins called Cancer, You Picked Up the Wrong Girl. And today, talking to her about her journey and her book will be one of her closest friends, Zeeba Bhagwagar. Zeeba is an ad filmmaker and an awarded documentary filmmaker and the co-founder of Zero Rules Production House. She was a pillar of strength for Shormistha through her diagnosis and treatment. And today they will, for the first time, chat about what it was like. So over to you, Shormistha and Zeeba.
Thank you for having me and Zeeba here. I'm really thankful to the Asiatic Society of Mumbai and to Sharna's ma'am for calling me here. And thank you for this introduction, Madhu. And also, I'm very happy to have Zeeba here talking to me about it. I was so excited to speak about this because this is a topic that's so hushed up and so much of a taboo. And, usually we don't find people talking about this. The numbers as far as breast cancer in India go are crazy. In fact, I have some numbers here, which we will share with you at some point in time. So thank you so much for having me. And thank you everybody who is here this evening listening to us. Thanks so much. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box or we can take them later. Thanks. Over to you, Zeeba. I don't know what Zeeba's going to ask me. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Shormistha, and thank you for inviting me today to do this. Thank you to the people who have organized this. I'm really happy to be here and definitely very, very nervous because as Madhu mentioned, I was part of Shormistha's journey through cancer. And so there's a lot of emotion in this Zoom room today. I finally get to interview her about her book, Cancer, You Picked the Wrong Girl. For those who are not sure, the pre-order of this book is on right now, and the book is going to be released, I think, in the beginning of November, if I'm right. And if you're wondering whether to still order it or not, here's what Nisha Susan, author of The Woman Who Forgot to Invent Facebook and Other Stories, has to say about Shormistha's book. And I quote, "It feels strange to call a cancer memoir a charming, giggly page turner, but that is what this book is. You're so happy to hang out with Shormistha in the waiting room of doctors and inside chemo wards that when you find yourself crying sometimes as you read, it's a shock. Wait, we were having such a good time. What happened? And then you're smiling again. This is a book for anyone who asks themselves what they'd do if life changed overnight." And here's what Anuja Chauhan had to say about the book. "It's riveting, funny, sad, and so real. I have a friend crush on Shormistha now." So, speaking about friendships, just the other day, Shormistha and I were reminiscing a bit and we realized we've known each other for about 20 years now. And that's a really long time in somebody's life. I think our friendship became stronger when I moved to Mumbai in 2006. And it was Shormistha who made me feel very welcome in the city. And I knew I had at least one friend around, and that was very comforting for me. We've been through some really good times and a lot of madness together. So I'm really excited to be here. In 2018, things did change a bit. I was in Bangalore on a trip and Shormistha messaged me about her diagnosis. She had mentioned just before that she had this kind of a feeling, and I, being the good friend, said, "Arey, it's nothing. Go to the doctor. Let them examine you. I'm sure it's nothing. We all feel like this as women once in a while." But it's 2018, and as per the data at that time, one woman is diagnosed with breast cancer in India every 4 minutes. Get that again: one woman every 4 minutes is diagnosed. So I want to begin today's interview by asking Shormistha that what were the first signs she felt or she saw that made her worried enough to go to the doctor?
Okay, so I've always had lumps, and Zeeba, you know this, and they've always been benign. I've had lumps since I was 19, and I've known that okay, I have these lumps and they're benign, and I had a lump, and I had this strange feeling about this lump, but I don't know whether I was scared or I was just like pushing it under the carpet. Usually, whenever I found a lump, I would just go and see a gynecologist. But this time I didn't. I just kept delaying it. And then next thing you realize is 5 months had passed, and this lump was just not going. I also had another symptom. My nipple went in, completely went in, and I was like, "This is strange. I've never seen something like this happen." But again, I was like, "Oh, let me just not think about it." I didn't even Google it. But yeah, these were two symptoms, and then I finally went to a gynecologist. And before she could even examine me, she said, "Why are you here?" And I said, "Oh, I have a lump." And what happened was my nipple had gone in, and her eyebrows just went into her hairline. And that's when I knew that this was not good news, and this was not good at all. Yeah. So yeah, those were my symptoms.
Right. So when did you actually receive the diagnosis? After what tests were done to receive the diagnosis about cancer, breast cancer?
So basically, I went to this gynecologist. She did a sonography, and the reason also I'm very happy to be talking about this is that a lot of times we go to gynecologists, and in India there's no standard protocol,
Right.
and that's a big problem. I had gone to the same gynecologist a year back, and she had done a sonography, and she had told me, "Oh, it's benign, go home." And I went home very happily. But later on, my oncologist told me that if at that time she had insisted that I do a sonomammogram, and I'm over 40, so I could easily have done a mammogram. So if I had done a sonomammogram, they would have probably found my cancer at stage 0,
Right.
which means I wouldn't have had to lose a breast. I wouldn't have had to go through so much chemotherapy, all that. But they didn't do that. And so anyway, so I went to her, and when I told her this symptom, she was like, "Oh my God." And she immediately examined me, and she said, "I'm sending you for a sonomammogram." And I was like, "What is a sonomammogram?" But I didn't bother. I was not even thinking breast cancer. I was like, "Oh my God, this woman is just being painful." So I landed up at this diagnostic center, and I go for this sonomammogram, and I'm looking at all the literature on the walls, and all the literature on the wall is about breast cancer. And I'm like, "What am I doing here? I'm in the wrong place. I should just go to work now." But thankfully, I didn't do that, and I just stayed on, and we did a sonomammogram, and the radiologist, she was wonderful. She looked at my report, and she said, "This is extremely peculiar. I'm not happy with this. Sit down. I think you need to do a biopsy." I was like, "Okay." But then she said, "Maybe you want to go back to your gynecologist." My gynecologist looked at the report, and she said, "You have to go see an oncologist." That was it. And, I was so stunned because, it's just like a normal, regular working day, and somebody tells you you need to see an oncologist. So for 5 minutes, I'm thinking, is she asking me to see an eye doctor, ophthalmist, and then it took me 2 minutes to realize, oncologist, oh my God, So yeah, that was it. And then I managed to get an appointment at Tata Memorial, and the doctor again just looked at me and she said, "This is it. We're going to make you do the test to see what the extent is, but it definitely is cancer." So, yeah.
I
And
think
then there were about
your disbelief also, I remember you saying, came from the fact that you always thought that you led a very healthy life. I know you do yoga, you eat right, so I think we always think if we do that, this is not going to happen to us.
absolutely.
And I think that's a big myth which should be busted right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So many people ask me, in
Right.
all these conversations that I've been having, people are like, tell us what we can do to avoid it. Is it red meat? Is it that? And I'm like,
Right.
if I could tell you, I would win the Nobel Prize 10 times over, So it's just a giant lottery in the sky, and your number gets picked. But of course, there are things that it could be hereditary, it could
Right.
be, because of your lifestyle, whatever. But yes, in my case, I was just like being so healthy, and I'm like, how could this happen? So, yeah.
Right. So now you've received this diagnosis, and there are a lot of decisions to be made. I remember lots of people recommending all kinds of treatments, allopathy, homeopathy, Ayurveda, some voodoo, some, I don't know what, all kinds of things. But a very important part of this is choosing your doctor. And I think because your life is now in your doctor's hands, literally, and you need to travel this journey with the doctor. So what made you decide that the doctor you chose would be the doctor who would work for you?
So, you're absolutely right. So many people suggested so many things and different strokes for different folks. But I was like, my life is in danger. I might die. I don't think I'm going to meet a leaf doctor right now. The only person I'm going to trust right now is my oncologist. And I met the doctor the first time, and it was just the way in which I knew he was the head of the breast cancer department. But I think the best part, and I'm beginning to believe it's true of all oncologists, is that they're extremely honest. They're going to tell you to your face. He didn't mince words. He didn't try and sugarcoat it and all that. He just told me straight up, yes, you've got breast cancer. Yes, you're going to need to go through all this. This is standard protocol. It was also not done in a rough way. It was done in a way which had a lot of empathy, but it was straight up. It was honest. And the minute I saw that honesty, I was like, oh my God, this doctor is perfect. Plus, I was so surprised that the doctor and me were the same age. I was like, that's good point. Plus, now all breast cancer oncologists do drawings of breasts to tell you where your lumps are. He just drew beautiful breasts, and I was like, you are my doctor.
So he advised you at that time to go for mastectomy. And that was his medical advice, which the doctor should be the one to decide. But he also gave you the decision to decide on a reconstruction. And I remember we had many chats about this, the pros, the cons, should you go for it, should you not go for it, because that was a decision you needed to take. He did have some advice regarding that. He showed us a couple of pictures as well, I remember. But firstly, if you can tell everybody what exactly happens in a mastectomy, maybe versus a lumpectomy, and what made you decide to finally go for the reconstruction as well?
So in a lumpectomy, if the cancer is not spread to your lymph nodes, in my case, it had already gone to the lymph nodes, so then they're really scared. But if it is still localized in the breast, sometimes they will opt for breast conservation or a lumpectomy, which is just about removing that lump and a part of your breast, maybe. In a mastectomy, they will remove the entire breast. They will scoop everything out of the breast, literally. It's like how you have nariyal pani, they'll take everything out. And then they take tissue from, in my case, they took it from my back. Sometimes they'll also take it from your stomach. If medical science is a marvel. They'll take tissue from your back and they'll create a channel and they'll fill your breast with your own tissue. So that, it's easier for your breast to sort of accept that. And, as you grow, fat, thin, whatever, that tissue also adjusts like that.
That is for the reconstruction you're talking about.
That is for the reconstruction. So the mastectomy basically is to, completely sort of take away the breast, except for the skin on top. And the reconstruction is again refilling that. So which is why they recommend that you have the reconstruction at the same time as your mastectomy operation, because the skin of the breast is kept intact. It's a very thin layer of skin, and so you don't have to again reconstruct the whole breast with the skin and graft it from somewhere. You don't have to do that. You just take the skin and you just fill it with your own tissue, and they do that. It's a marvel.
So they've
Yeah.
used your own tissue for the reconstruction of the breast, right?
Correct.
What made you decide to go for the reconstruction?
First I thought I would not go for it
I
because
remember. Yes.
I was like, do I really want to go through the pain? A reconstruction means you have bags on the side for some time, and they keep, removing the fluid from your tissue and your breast, and you stay in hospital much longer. And so I was like, I don't want it. So I told the doctor, I don't want it. I'm okay. I'm fairly confident. I'll manage. You get mastectomy, bras, you get all that these days, so I'll be fine. But he just told me that, remember one thing, that every single day, when you look at yourself, it will be a reminder of what you went through, the scars. And I think I was just like, really? And then when he told me that I'll have to do 16 rounds of chemo and 20 rounds of radiation, I was like, I am going to go through so much. And then to not have a breast, right now I'm feeling like I'm cool, but then that is going to totally weigh on me. So I decided, no, I'll make life a little easy for myself. And I just said yes to him.
I remember him also saying that if you decide to do this later, it would be a much more laborious surgery. And so, it's another 3 days in the hospital, stay there and just get it done if you want.
Yeah. And it's in my book, because I asked him, I said, you're going to take tissue from my back. Yeah. Is that going to affect me in any way? And he said, you can't climb trees. And I was like, okay, I'll forsake my career in body tapping. I'll just go for it. I mean, fine, I'll live without climbing a tree or two. So yeah.
Okay, so you've done your surgery, that part is over with, you're back home, and then you have to face what everyone I think dreads about cancer, is chemotherapy. I think it's synonymous with the word cancer, and people dread it so much because all you hear about the horrible side effects of it. Correct. How did you prepare for chemo? And what was it like for you? I know everyone has a different experience, so I want to know what it was like for you and how did you prepare for it?
I think sometimes that I was dreading the chemo more than the cancer. Right. Chemo is more scary than cancer. I was really scared. I didn't know what to expect. I was, I had like 20 days between my surgery and my chemos, and I was like, I will live my life in these 20 days because I don't know what's going to happen after 20 days. But I think the thing that worked for me is that I'm a massive optimist. So I was like, I realized that I have no option. Like the chemo is what is going to, carpet bomb my insides. And if there is any stray cell, that is why they are, doing the chemo on me. They've already removed the cancer cells, but this is like a added protection. So I would do all these things. It was all in my own thing. I just found ways to cope with it. So I would visualize like the day I got chemo the first time. I remember lying in my living room and closing my eyes, and I was like, I kept visualizing my body, and I kept visualizing my cells, my bloodstream, and I kept telling my body that you have to make friends with the chemo. When the chemo enters you, remember that this chemo is here to do good stuff. So you need to protect the good cells and get after the bad cells. And you guys need to do it together. So I was like that very desperate friend who's like, come on, you two, you guys can be friends. But the visualization really helped me. And then chemo was horrendous. Let's just say that. It's tough. I think the first chemo was okay. The second chemo, I thought I'm gonna die. I was like, get me out of here. But then I started getting used to it. but my body, yes, I could feel the effect on my body. Especially my first 4 chemos were very, very big chemos, and I think that really sort of had a toll on my body. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it progressively also, the side effects get worse as you go through chemo 3 and then chemo 4. Were you prepared for the things like the hair fall and the menopause that happened?
Not at all. I'm going to read you guys an excerpt from
Please
my
do.
book
Yeah.
on the hair fall bit. I was never prepared for it. I mean, I thought
You knew it will happen, but you weren't prepared for it.
I knew it would happen. I buzzed my hair. I cut it. I was like, I'm so cool, but I was not cool at all. I was shocked at how much it started affecting me. So I'm just reading an excerpt. The first few days of being bald was especially tough. I remember my friends who I worked with came to see me. This was the first time they'd see me looking like this, like a cancer patient. And I wore a cap because I was so shy about the way I looked. I felt odd wearing it. Like here I was in my living room in the middle of the day, sweating in the Mumbai humidity, dressed like a rapper. I was awkward and I just wanted them to leave. I didn't want them to see me like this or see any sort of surprise or sadness in their eyes. The bald head was also a sign for people to stare at me and give me pitying looks. I hated it. Then there were the "we must cheer for cancer patients" people. Like the girl who would see me when I walked in the park near my house and raise her hands and clap for me. I'd run even faster. I'm not a freak show. I don't want you to clap and to have others turn and look at me. All I wanted was for people to not notice me or not stare or sympathize. Just be normal, goddammit. One time, I went to buy something from a shop near my house, an organic shop where you'd expect people to have a little more exposure and thereby sensitivity. I always wore a mask when I went out because I didn't want to catch an infection and screw up my chemo. I had calculated that my chemo and radiation cycle would be over by early December, which means I'd actually have reason to celebrate the new year. And I wasn't going to let anything derail that. So I'm buying things at this fancy store with my bald head and my mask, and a lady just keeps staring at me. I'm at the vegetable section, she's looking at me. I'm buying butter, she's still staring. I'm choosing fruit, I can see her eyes on me. Not even subtle, just straight staring. So finally, I've had enough. I walk up to her, lower my mask, and in a loud whisper announce I have cancer. She left the shop faster than you can say bhindi. That's how it was. It was hard.
I know. In fact, like one of my questions, I think people get awkward. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to react. I think they stare because I think we all stare at things that don't make quite much sense to us. Yeah. So I want to know from you as a survivor, what do you think is the worst thing you can say to somebody who's going through this? And what is something you can say when you meet somebody who's going through this, which is not hard to hear, which actually gives you some kind of hope? Because I found a lot of people telling you just the wrong things that you did not want to ever hear.
Yeah. So first, so it's really funny, I just marked these out. So I'm going to read you some stuff from my book and then answer your question. So it's a short one-on-one on how to react when someone tells you they have cancer.
Right.
So first of the reactions used to be, "Oh my God, never know, I am freaking out." Okay, not a good way to react. If you're telling me that you're freaking out, then I should be exploding with stress. Like, really, what's the logic? You're not going to go through the treatment or the chemo or have your boob taken out, so you have no reason to freak out. Second, no, it can't be. I don't believe it. You better, unless you're an oncologist who knows more than the one I met. I know that you mean that it's hard and you don't want this to happen to me, but you can't keep repeating, "I don't believe this," because it makes you want to cry and say, "I don't believe it either." Then, why is this happening to you? You are such a good person. Honestly, I think this was the most irritating response. I mean, like what? Why are you linking some hormonal or cellular glitch in my system to me being good or bad? What about kids who get cancer? Are they good people or bad people? And this entire sentence somehow makes me feel like a fraud. Like if I was really a good person, this would not have happened. Also, just so you know, Mother Teresa died of a heart attack. There is no rule that says good people die peacefully in their sleep, clutching a photo of their favorite dog and a smile playing on their lips. 1 second, now I'm comparing myself to dead people, all because of you. So this is really how it was. It was the reactions people gave me were crazy, and then people would give me ridiculous advice like don't do chemo, go to this doctor, go to that doctor, metal doctor, leaf doctor, like just about everything. And then there were like people who would either be like, you warrior, and I was like, I don't want to be a warrior. I'm at peace with my cancer, and that's how I want to deal with this. So I feel like the best thing to do is not go by what you feel you should say. Oh, this person is like fighting cancer, so fighter, warrior. Don't do all that. I think the best first thing to tell this person is, hey, I know you've been diagnosed with this, and tell me how I can help you.
Yes.
Can I come and spend time with you? Would you like me to maybe walk with you? Would you like me to do something for you? Would you like me to come for chemo with you? Would you like someone to come for your hospital visit? You need so many people to do so many things for you, right? So I think the best thing to do is just ask the patient, what can I do for you? Because I really care for you and I want to be part of this, and then go with that.
And if you don't know what to say, then don't say anything at all.
Yeah, just say, hey, I'm there. That's
Yeah,
it. I think
right.
that's all you need to say.
So after your very tough chemo, you had to go through radiation as well. And how does that work for breast cancer in the sense, do all breast cancer people who are suffering from it require both chemo and radiation? And were there any side effects of radiation?
No, it depends on what kind of cancer you have. Sometimes they might do radiation first, chemo later. So it really depends. There's also standard protocols for different kinds of breast cancer. Mine was an estrogen positive breast cancer. So the standard protocol is 16 rounds of chemo and then 20 rounds of radiation. Radiation for me was much simpler because I was just like, I was done with the chemo. I was like, now you can do anything. I'm fine. I've crossed the sea. I've climbed the mountain. I've been through this like burning forest and I'm out of it. So, whatever is okay. But really the radiation for me was much, much milder. It was great because I could go on my own and come back on my own. That was a very big thing for me. Yes, there are some side effects like your skin can get slightly burned, and also sometimes difficult to swallow because the radiation is being given very close to your neck. So you have that slight issue, so they'll give you medication for that. But yeah, otherwise it was so much simpler.
And I think I'll say that every patient goes through different side effects for radiation. And I'm glad that you didn't have those kind of side effects that some people go through.
Yes.
Now, we've dealt with the physical and the biological and medical parts, but the tougher part for cancer, I think, is the emotional and the mental toll that it takes on a patient. So how did you feel going through cancer at the point of diagnosis and then your treatment? How did you feel and where were you deriving your strength from?
I think a big part of it was, of course, you suddenly realize that, like life is so fragile. If I had waited a couple of more months, I don't know what would have happened. It's only later that I had the courage to ask the doctor at what stage I was. And he said between 2 and 3, and I was so scared just hearing that, So I think first is that realization. And then and you're constantly, you're thinking about relapses. Your mind is all over the place. Your mind plays so many games with you. Your body is your friend, but your mind is like just ready to, trip you up. So I think I was just very focused that there is light at the end of the tunnel. My oncologist has told me that I will become okay. And I just have to reach that light at the end of the tunnel. I was like, I don't care about left, right, center, nothing. I just have one goal. And I was like super focused on that. So I just got through. I used to tell myself, all those old war movies, where you see people who are prisoners and put in solitary confinement. I used to tell myself that's me. So I used to create a routine for myself. Even the times when I was very sick, I would lay out my yoga mat and just sleep on it. But I would lay it out. I would draw, I would paint. I would just be like, okay, I am a prisoner and I just need to cope with this prison somehow. So yeah,
How did you forget your embroidery?
Yeah, I started embroidering. Yes, yes. I took up lots of hobbies. It was hard. All the hobbies were like, I would just abandon them the days I felt sick, but I just managed somehow.
I think that must have been tough because for those who don't know Shormistha is a person who likes to get out of the house all the time and travel and do things and do 100 things in a day.
Yeah.
So how did it feel like being at home for all that time?
It was horrible. It was horrible because I was on the sidelines of all WhatsApp groups. Especially my office WhatsApp group, they were meeting, going out, doing things. I used to hate it. My friends would come to meet me and then they'd be like, oh, we are all going out. I'd be like, no, don't go out. Please don't meet each other. Don't do anything. It was very, very hard to watch everybody's life stay the way it was.
Yeah.
And my life just come to a standstill.
So while we like joke through a lot of it, and I remember sitting in the chemo ward cracking up completely with you while you're going through chemo, I think the madness pushed you through as well, and all those laughs. But I do not ever want to take away from the fact that it was an extremely tough journey. So what do you think was the hardest thing you had to face, or the hardest part of this journey?
I think the hardest part of this journey, Zeeba, is always that it comes with no guarantees, and you realize that very fast as a cancer patient because no doctor ever tells you you're cancer free. They only tell you no evidence of disease, and then you just realize that, you are in remission, you are done with your treatment, but, you for 5 years, that's a milestone. You will go back every 6 months to the doctor and your life hangs, in balance. And I think that is the toughest.
Yeah. So, so what gives you that sense like, I'm fine, I'm going to carry on, I have life ahead of me, or who did you turn to, or did somebody like help you out? Like what gives you this
No, at that
strength?
point,
Yeah.
At that point, I think I had just had so many friends, I think I was very open about my treatment. And that's the other thing I want to say, that I know a lot of people who get diagnosed and treated and are not able to speak about it because it's a taboo, or, workplace, it's a taboo, or within your family, friends, society, because it's breast cancer or it's just cancer, or, whatever it is. I was lucky that I didn't have to hide it. I felt like if I hid it, it will be a bigger burden on me, and I did not want to hide it. So the fact that I was vocal about it made it easier. It made me able to reach out to people and ask them for help. It made it easy for people to reach out to me and, offer help. And I think that is what gave me strength. Just the fact that I could talk about it, that I did not have to hide it. It also meant that, random people would send me so much stuff. And sometimes I'd be like, please don't send me things without reading it. Because it'd be like, you must read this article. And then I'd open the article and be about some lady who died of cancer. And I'd be like, maybe you should not be sending me this article. So, I also opened myself up to a lot of that. But on the whole, I would say that it just being open and talking, and that really helped me. And then, of course, friends and family. I don't know how people ever do something like this alone.
Yeah. So is this one of the reasons you wrote the book?
Yes, I wrote the book because when I was diagnosed with cancer, I couldn't find anything. No Indian woman writing an account of being treated in India. Sure, you can go abroad and get treated and do all that, but what about, being treated here? And why is breast cancer such a taboo topic? And every time I would tell people, or I found people were so awkward when I said, "Oh, I had breast cancer," and suddenly everyone, no. like let's just sidestep this conversation. We don't talk about death. We don't talk about cancer. We don't talk about breast. So I was like, okay, you know what? It is an epidemic, literally now. The number of women who get it, and you read the 2018 stats. 1 in every 4 women, right? And 1 in every 8 women dies of it. And so not to have a conversation is horrifying. So I was like, I will write a book. Unfortunately, I wrote everything in that book, and now I'm just worried that also random people will be reading about my breast, but never mind.
So tell us where we can read more data about the epidemic, let's say, of breast cancer.
There is this lovely site. I will just leave it with y'all. It's called breastcancerindia.net. It's a great site with a lot of resources. And I'm saying that it's an Indian site, so it's better to read and look at it from there. So yeah, that's a great site to look at.
Do you think this taboo is because it has to deal with a part of our bodies that we are just so shy to talk about as women? And therefore we delay everything. We delay just going to the doctor because you don't want to show your breast to a doctor.
Correct. Correct. So gynecological cancers are notoriously delayed as far as treatment is concerned, because who wants to show their ovaries to a doctor or their breast to a doctor? The other problem with breast cancer is that it's painless, right? You don't feel any pain. There's no symptom like that. You're not coughing blood like they show in the movie.
In fact, I remember the doctor telling you right now, you are healthy. You don't have any symptom. When you were diagnosed, when she was diagnosed, she was not in pain. She didn't have fever. She was not having any infection. So they said you are healthy on the outside and you will never know that you have breast cancer.
Correct. Which is why it reaches stage 4 cancer so fast, and then people get diagnosed, which is why so many women die as well. So, that's why it's important for us to be familiar with our breasts, to know what they feel like, what they look like, if there's any change in shape or weight or size or color, or anything else. We need to be familiar, but again, in our country, because it's breast and everything else, you don't tend to, you're not encouraged to look to understand these things.
And can you also talk about what we should do as women to be aware or be careful, and especially the reluctance to go for a mammogram in India or anywhere, not just here? I think the whole association with it's going to be very painful. I don't want to show somebody my breast, and the pain that people talk about.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that?
Sure. If you're over 40, you must get yourself annually checked. There is no way you should not. It is really stupid. I still go for my 6 monthly checks, and you can only do a mammogram once a year. But I still go for 6 monthly checks to do my sonography and then mammosono once a year. And so many times the doctor will have to tell me that, hey, listen, you're here, great. There are 2 patients out there who are refusing to do a mammogram. Can you please go and talk to them? And then I have to go and talk to them, and I'll be like, you know what? This pain is nothing compared to the pain you're going to feel if, God forbid, anything happens. You do not want to go through any of that. So please, this is just fleeting. It's going to take 10 minutes and you'll be out. So, but there's a lot. I don't know why there is this massive resistance towards mammograms in our country. Like, oh, we shouldn't take it. Oh, it's bad for us. It's not true. You need to do it once a year.
And I think at least if you don't do that, go get your breast examined by your gynecologist, at least physically. You can even do an ultrasound. There are other things. If you're really so hesitant, though, mammo is the best way to get diagnosed, but at least get something done, and do not hide. People who have a lump have hidden that lump for a good amount of time, just because they're just so scared to go to a doctor. And I think even face it, like you yourself said, you were hesitant to just face the fact that it could be. So would you like to read us an excerpt from your book? Because
I read so many excerpts.
Read one more.
I think everybody get like really irritated with me. They'll be like, "Bas karo abhi aap chale jao." I don't know. I'll just read you the excerpt I was talking about. So not a very long excerpt. And then I think it'd be nice if we took some questions,
Sure.
if anyone has.
Sure.
So my oncologist is looking at me. My eyes must be one big question mark. He lays out everything. One big lymph node lit up in the PET scan, so they can't take a chance. There might be other lymph nodes that are infected as well. Even with that one infected lymph node, they can't risk it. They will have to do a mastectomy and then chemotherapy and radiation. You could have cut through the silence with a butter knife. I can't get myself to look away from the report lying in front of me because I'm scared I'll start crying. I hear Anirban, my husband, asking him, she will need chemotherapy? Are you sure? The doctor gently explains if this had been detected before my lymph node had been infected, then maybe, just maybe, they could have given me radiation and left it at that. But now, there was always a possibility that something could have leaked past the lymph node, and so they were not going to take any chances. They'd have to consider a protocol that can save me from things we might not have spotted or a future relapse. Can I just pause to tell you how hard it is to even write the word relapse? Even writing it here, just putting it down in words makes me want to abandon everything I'm doing and curl up like a ball and howl my head off. Even reading it makes me want to do that.
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps.
I still can't believe this is happening. It's no longer a simple procedure. This is a shitstorm. I've never faced something like this in my life. I'm not prepared for it. I want to yell at him. Instead, I just sit there with a half smile on my face. The doctor gently and slowly goes on. The lump in my breast is very close to the nipple, so they will have to sacrifice the nipple. Why did he use the word sacrifice? Because you'll have to give up your breast if you want to get it safe. I'm okay with that. I think so. I just want this damn cancer out of me. But the nipple? The doctor is talking to me. I try and still my mind and listen to him. He's explaining that if it was just one malignant lump, they might have gone towards breast conservation and opted for a lumpectomy or partial removal of the breast. But in my case, the biopsy shows one confirmed lump, one suspicious one, and some calcification. So they'll want to take the whole breast out to minimize this. It's the best thing to do, and I should opt for reconstruction. My eyes widen. The doctor looks at me and says, I hope you're going to do the reconstruction. Till the minute he asked me that question, even I didn't know what I wanted. Yet I hear myself say yes. He looks pleased. The tissue will probably come from below my shoulder blade, and when they retain the flap or the outer skin of my breast, they'll take out the nipple. They'll graft some skin from the same tissue area and stitch it over where the nipple used to be. Okay. But if you take tissue from my shoulder blade, is there anything I will not be able to do? I asked. Climb trees, he said. That's decided then. I'm forsaking my career as a toddy tapper and going ahead and getting the reconstruction done. I grinned. Zeeba was there that day.
Yes, I was. He also showed us a lot of photos of breasts on his phone that, look at this. Can you make out which is the reconstructed one or the other? And we found ourselves just watching these photos.
All headless, all like women from here. We were like, okay, this is okay. Very weird.
It was weird. But you've been on quite a journey and been very brave through it. And we've seen you through it as well. And I'm really glad this book is coming out because I know the way you write, and while it will be funny, it'll have a lot of moments of reflection, I'm sure. Let's open this for questions, if anyone has.
Can you hear anything? No, I can't hear you.
No. Would anybody like to ask a question? Yeah, somebody's raised their hand. Pradipta. Pradipta, please go ahead.
I don't know if we can unmute them.
You should. Yes, she has unmuted herself. Yes. Okay. Pradipta?
It's a guy. It's Pradipto.
Oh, sorry. Pradipto.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. So you know how much I love you, Shormistha, right? So this is just incredible. So there's 3 points, if I may. First is only you can say narcol and not climb toddy trees anymore while discussing breast cancer, which is brilliant. And that's one regret. I thought one day you will climb up the palm tree and we and you and Anirban and me will have toddy together. So that's one regret. The second point, which is about how to talk to a person who has first you encounter for the first time when somebody's got cancer. And one of the life lessons that I've learned from my own, having lost my cousin sister, is what you just said. And this is just an observation. And there was this lady who was discovered at very late stages in her life. And one of those evenings we met, and I live overseas, and this Diwali season, and she was there in the party, and it was meant to be a fun party. It turned out to be rather somber in the beginning. And I told the host, play music. And I went up to her and said, hey, Bun, why aren't you dancing? And that's it. And she danced and danced and danced, right? And she just come back from Singapore after having received her chemo or whatever it was. So that's a beautiful observation of what not to say to a person. Now, my question to you, much like any sport, life is also a game. And much like any sport, people have highs and lows, and they go down to very low depths. Was there any point where you wanted to give up and then found inner strength to go back again? And if so, what was that point and how do you do it?
It was definitely there. It's funny that you asked this question. So I think, just short of my chemos, I think I just had 2 chemos left, and I reached a point where I don't know what, I just felt like this is it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I don't care if I live or not. I'm sure I'm going to die, and and I'm never going to be the same again. And I got scared. It's like I'm watching myself go through all this, and I'm like, oh my God, she's going through a really bad time. And, I don't know what to do with her, literally. It was a terrible time. I just, one day, I think I just cried so much all day that I was really worried about myself. I was like, I don't know what is going to happen to me. And I didn't know who to talk to. I mean, obviously my, parents, my husband, everybody was there, but I wanted to talk to somebody who had been through this. So I have a friend called Himanshu, who's much younger than me, and he had been through cancer. So I called him, and I didn't have much hope because I was like, he's going to tell me the same shit. Like, oh, don't worry, you 2 more chemos left. Oh, you are such a great girl, all that. So I just called him and I said, Himanshu, I'm feeling like I'm going to give up. I can't do this anymore. And he told me about the trek that he had gone through. Both of us had gone for this trek in Uttaranchal, and like idiots, we had gone in the monsoon. And because of that monsoon, there were like lots of landslides. And the day we were supposed to reach the summit, we had to go right down to the end of the valley. And we were both like, we just give up. There's why have we chosen to come at this time? Are we crazy? We cursing everybody, and they're like, why? And we had no choice. The person who brought us on the trek told us, you can't go back. It's going to take you 3 days, and in this rain, you'll probably die in a landslide. Your only choice is to go up. And so, shut up and do it. So we just, both of us were like, okay, we're just going to look down, and we're just going to walk 1 foot in front of us. Just 1 foot. I don't care where the top is. I will reach it if I just look down at my feet. And that's it. And Himanshu told me that. And then I realized that's all I need to do. I just need to go 1 foot in front of the other. So 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day at a time. That's it. I can't, there's no point thinking where is the end, where is this, and I was so at the bottom that was the only way I could come up. So yeah, that was it.
Brilliant.
For me.
So there's one tipping point at one end of the scale, and it tips to the other end of the scale. If you keep believing in yourself, and something happens. So great. So the only thing now is when I meet you in your house in Goa, I have to climb that damn coconut tree and get the fanny down. Okay, I'll do that with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pradipto. Thank you.
And thank you for asking this question.
Would anybody else have a question to ask? Yes,
Hi,
Jeru.
Jeru. There are many Parsis on this call today. I'm
For
very
once,
happy.
we are not minorities here. Yes, Jeru, please go ahead.
Jeru, you have to unmute yourself,
I think.
or somebody has to unmute you.
I think the host has to unmute.
Madhu, are you the host? Madhu or Amish?
She has been unmuted, but she has to unmute
All right.
Yes, okay.
Yes,
She's
to
been
unmute
unmuted. Yeah.
herself.
Yeah.
Jeru, you're unmuted. Please go ahead.
Yeah,
Yes.
I said we love you very much. Okay, I know you've gone through hell and come back, and you can laugh about it. I'm so happy for you. All the best, beta. God bless.
Thank
Take
you,
care of
Jeru.
yourselves.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you so much. Anyone else would like to ask a question? The author is in the room.
I think Hina has a
Hina.
question.
Yes, Hina. Could somebody unmute her, please? Yes, Hina,
Hi.
please go ahead. Yes.
Hi. One thing I want to say is the chat has been disabled. So if you enable the chat, maybe people will put questions.
Okay.
That's one thing. Second thing, I missed a few minutes of the start. So I'm curious to know when you were diagnosed or when this happened, which year, and
2008.
2008.
18.
18. So you have been cleared for how long?
I finished my treatment in 2018 December.
Okay. So now there cannot be a relapse, or there can be?
Oh my God, Hina, not the question you should be asking at all.
Sorry.
But, no, I'm just joking.
And-
no,
And I want to ask, don't answer then if it
No,
bothers.
and you can absolutely ask. It's just that it's for every, I think for every cancer patient, it's the scariest question. There is no guarantee for anything. So, and I was just talking about, so that every cancer patient with that, they say no evidence of disease, and that's it. And you just hope that you're in the clear. There are milestones, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, like that. So right now I'm giving for my 5-year milestone. And yeah, that's it.
I have an aunt who just lived, I mean, I don't remember which cancer she had, but she survived it like forever. And she died when she was really, really old.
That's
Also,
great to know.
I want to ask another rude question. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
Is that your real hair?
Yes, it is. It grew back.
Oh, wow. You look really good.
It grew back. I had no hair. I would love to show you what I look like.
It looks so natural. That's why I wanted to ask. I couldn't bear not to ask. It looks
Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
No, it is natural. I'm studying
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it all fell and it was a very hard time. And then when it grew back also, it was very hard. I was like, oh my God, I looked like Sachin Tendulkar for a very long time. But then, it grew back. And they used to tell me earlier that your hair will go back thicker. I never believed them, but it has grown back thicker. So I'm like, hoorah.
Yeah, it's in 2-3 years, it looks like so good. So
Yeah, I
good
think
luck and good health to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Shormistha, may I add one thing? I don't know if it's the right thing to say, but would you consider that you have given yourself the best chance by going through a mastectomy, by doing chemo, by doing radiation? Because I know women who have fought with their doctors saying, we don't want to do a mastectomy, just do a lumpectomy and I will see later. So do you think by going through one of the toughest protocols that you have given yourself the best fighting chance?
Yeah, I mean, that's the standard protocol across the world. So they would have come to that protocol after doing a million tests, right? And also burning up $1 million, pounds, rupees, whatever, on cancer research. So it doesn't make any sense for me to say I reject this protocol, right? It is standard. If you find a lump, if the lump has gone to the lymph node, if you have this kind of symptom, if whatever, it's like there's standard practice and they will just give you that. So then to fight with the oncologist would have made no sense. And I have not done an MBBS or done anything like that. How am I going to tell him that no? And something, Zeeba, I don't know for everyone else, but for me, the minute I was diagnosed, it's like my will to live just kicked in. And then I was like, dude, I'll do anything to live,
Right.
So, okay, if this is what it takes, this is what it takes.
Right. Roma would like to ask something. Roma, you put a question in the chat. You put a comment in the chat that you would like to ask something.
Okay. Hi. Hi.
Hi, Roma. Please go.
Hi, Shormistha. Hi. I've been listening to you all, and I have to say, I've known Shormistha for how many years? I'm married to Pradipto, which Shormistha knows, and we've married forever. But I think it's that joyful existence that you have. You're so joyful. And I think it's that joy which also carries you through. And I think nobody knows. So I just want to answer this for the person who was asking. Nobody knows from one day to the other how long you live and how many days you'll be sick or whatever. So I think you just have to be as joyful as you are, Shormistha, and continue the way you are. And know that there's someone always watching over you, and we're all there. And thank you so much. I can imagine how frightened you must have been. I myself have gone through something, and I remember being really frightened, but you just address it. And that's why we are living beings, because we all have to address these things, And I think you just have to be positive, reach out to your friends. We're all there for you. And whoever this affects, remember that we are lucky that there are cures nowadays, and there are reconstructions. And I've always had this, it's a fear for me as well. And ever so often, every morning, you keep touching your boobs and think, okay, do I have something? And sometimes you almost feel, yeah, it looks like I have something, because also it doesn't hurt. And then you go for a checkup. But as soon as you have that suspicion, you go for a checkup. But I think addressing it would be very wise. At present, I have a friend who's going through this. She's the same age as you, Shormistha. And she's addressed it and she's dealt with it. She has no hair and she looks as beautiful as ever, like you did without your hair. So well done. And I'm so proud of who you are.
Thank you. I'm not going to cry over the book or every experience, but I think all of you, each one of you saying all these nice things, I'm going to be bad. So yeah, I'm going to be crying very soon. But thank you. Everybody who's come on this call, I mean, everybody at the Asiatic Society, you all are, over the last year through the pandemic, I mean, I have gotten to know you all so much better, and I've been so happy to be part of this group and to learn so much from all of y'all. You're just the nicest people. All my friends who are here today, from where I used to work earlier, in Calcutta, I also have a friend called Anirban who's here, and Zeeba. I am so touched that Zeeba, who was with me throughout, is hosting this. It just feels like a really warm, very nice space. I feel very happy to have shared this with all of you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So are there any more questions, or can we end today's session? Okay, so I would personally like to thank Shormistha and the Asiatic Society. I hope all of you order the book right away. And I think more important than that, go to a doctor, get your annual examination. And I always encourage every woman, take another woman along, whether your friend, whether your mother, whether your sister, take another woman along also for the examination so that they get themselves checked as well. We can beat this with more testing, with more awareness, and hopefully it will stop being the epidemic it can be. It is curable. and just get yourself tested. That's all I have to say. I leave it to Shormistha or the Asiatic Society.
I just want to thank everybody, and I especially want to thank Shenaz ma'am for doing this. It's not usually something that the Asiatic Society would hold, but she's the one who said, no, I want to have this conversation. So thank you so much, and thank you so much, Madhu, as well, for hosting this. And Ramesh also.
Thank you so much, Shormistha. I am giving the vote of thanks on behalf of the MRC. Thank you for accepting our invitation at such short notice. And thank you, Zeeba, for accepting Shormistha's invitation at equally shorter notice.
Very
And
happy
thank you
to be
both
here.
of you for having done this wonderfully sensitive and sensible program. These are not issues that are easily discussed. They're pretty traumatic, I'm sure. Not easy to bring out in the open like this. So thank you very much, not only for your fortitude in facing it, but in living to tell the tale and actually telling the tale and giving us all the courage, not only to face breast cancer, but any kind of such adversity, which we have gone through. Several of us have faced or will face such problems in life. So thank you very much. You are a pillar of strength. And at the MRC, we know how wonderfully enthusiastic you've been, and we hope you go from strength to strength. Thank you, Shormistha, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody who attended. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Zeeba.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thanks, Pradipto. Thanks, Uma. Bye. Thanks, Aliban.
Madhu ma'am, you can end the session, please.